Wow, 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 wow. Oh no, no, it's quiet. Ooh. Ah. All right, let's see. Hello everybody. Here we are. Hello everyone. How is everyone doing today? Hope everyone's doing well. Hearts to everyone. How is Ooh, where'd my music go? Music, come back. How dare you abandon me at my critical moment? There we go. There's the music right there. All right. Hello, everybody. How is everyone doing today? Just Jessie giving us the wah wah wah. Hi, Super Desi. Hi, Zoe. Hi, Yets. Let me quick put this up so I can have a better view of the chat because I am angled weird. There we go. Oh, Mary, thank you so much. Yes, Sean Orange, who else is here? Cassie Cora, good to see you. Molly Manning, good to see you. Cyber Quaker, thank you, Saver11, good to see you. Enema of the Enemy. That's have I seen your name before, Enema of the Enemy? For some reason, that's new to me, and I love that name. Enema of the Enemy is great. Owen, good to see you. Kingdoms. Marg, good to see you. It's been a hot minute. Nice to see you, Marg. Mwah. Hello, my friend. Fang Wolf Prime, good to see you. Sarah, good to see you, Sarah. By the way, Sarah, random aside, I was gonna message you this, but since you're listening in, for some reason the video for tomorrow, the Hope video, got blocked. It got copyright blocked. So there's, and everyone else, there's a video that's coming out hopefully tomorrow, but it got copyright blocked. I'm challenging it right now, and it should be fine, but it might be a day or two delayed than I expected it to. So expect a video tomorrow. Hopefully, we'll see how it ends up going. But just so you know, Sarah, that it might be blocked, but it'll get up. Don't worry. But how is everyone else doing? Testy Trekkie, heart to you. Hello, my friend. Good to see you. Thank you so much for your super chat. My second favorite Trekkie in existence. Well, I am hurt. Who's your first? And it better not be a significant other. How dare I not be put ahead of your significant other? I'm hurt and offended. No, I'm just kidding with you. Hello, everybody. I hope everyone's having a wonderful, wonderful, amazing... Oh, Zoe, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Oh, Enema of the Enemy, congratulations on getting a job. That's absolutely great. Congratulations. Hey, a job's a job as long as it's helping you pay your bills. I'm sorry it's not a good one that you don't seem to be enjoying, but I'm glad you got one. But yeah. Oh, Sangria. If you do wanna do that, I do have a link down below for that sort of thing. But no pressure on that. Yes. Hello, everybody. Well, welcome to my stream. Just for everyone who might possibly be new here, what we're gonna be talking about, and also why I'm doing this early. This is my Thursday chat stream. So every Thursday I come on for about an hour or so. Today might be a little bit shorter, and I'll tell you why in a second. To just chat about whatever all of you want to talk about. I put in the topic of the headline of this video, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, because that's the hot goss that I think everyone in my community probably wants to talk about. I'll try and stay as mostly spoiler-free as possible if y'all want me to talk about that, but I'm generally open to talking about what all of you want to talk about. So if you have a topic that you want me to rant about or things like that, just let me know in the comments and ask me questions, or we'll just have conversations and I'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. The only thing I will say is that super chats are appreciated because this is my full-time job. They do help pay the bills. So if you do give super chats, that is very much appreciated. I give you a heart, and obviously I answer your question and try to give it some focus. But if you can't do super chats, no worries. There's zero pressure. I try to give a good balance between super chats and other questions as best I can. But yeah, that's just what this is. So what is everyone talking about? Oh, Chloe, heart to you. I'm sorry you have COVID. It looks like yeah. No, I've had it. Well, at least I suppose I had it back in January. Was it? Yeah, it would have been January going into, I think, February. And it's not fun. Thankfully, I was vaccinated, and hopefully you are as well, and that'll help alleviate some of the things. And hopefully it won't be too bad. And so I wish you well. It seems as if, at least from the headlines and things that we've been seeing, that people who have been getting COVID lately, as these variants have changed and things like that, well, cases may be going up, hospitalizations and more extreme harmful symptoms are going down. That doesn't mean that this is like we're completely free, but and we probably never will be of COVID, obviously, overall. But it is nice to know that like it's not as horrifying as it has been for the past few years. So I wish you the best, Chloe, on that. So I'm sorry that you're dealing with that. So please just take care of yourself and get better, my friend. Logan Mansion Gaming, good to see you. Oh, stay hump, you're awesome too. Heart to you, my friend. Oh, yes, so, yeah, thank you. Apologies if I say your name wrong. Amelioris, apologies if I said it wrong. But Amelioris, yes, just a quick announce. Part of the reason that I'm going to be doing a little bit shorter today is two things. One, I'm actually going to be live again today. For those of you who don't know, the podcast Strange New Pod, it's a Star Trek podcast. They have their own YouTube channel, and they obviously are a podcast. They're going to be talking about Strange New Worlds. Full spoilers. In just a few hours, and I'm going to be live with them on that. So, if you want to see more of me after this hour of us talking, I'm going to be on that at 6 p.m. No, it starts at, yes, 6 p.m. Give me a second. I want to say 6 p.m. Pacific time, but I might be misremembering that. We go live at 6:30 p.m. So 6:30 p.m. is when I'll be on. So check out that. Be ready for that. And then also tomorrow I'll be talking more about Star Trek Strange New Worlds and Star Trek Picard with the lovely Steve Shives, who many of you know, who is over on his channel. We'll be on his channel tomorrow, I believe at 2 o'clock Pacific time. So check out that as well. So there'll be lots of me talking about Star Trek over the next few days. So I just want to make sure. Stay hump. Thank you so much for your super chat. What's the best? Ooh, Sham. I'll answer that question in a second because I like that one. I just want to quick grab the super chats because I'm behind on a few. But Sham, I want to answer that question. Cassie, heart to you. Thank you so much. Kisses and hearts to you, my friend. Oh, Marg. Thank you, Marg. That is an incredibly generous super chat. Marg. Thank you. Mwah. I will make sure to spend some of that on Newt. You were incredibly generous. Thank you very much, Marg. I appreciate that very, very, very much. Thank you for being a wonderful member of this community and for all that you do. You lovely, 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 lovely person. And it'll be on YouTube, Marg, I believe. The Strange New Pod. But thank you, Marg. Just to quick grab these other ones, then I actually want to answer Sham's questions. Here's the question. So Testy Trekkie asks, hard to you. Here's the question that every Trekkie struggles: who is the best captain and why? Oof. I'm not just saying this because of the episode that premiered today. I actually would have said this before today, too. So, I will say this. Pike. I love Anson Mount's Pike to death. Might be my favorite captain. That's nothing against all the other captains, but Pike just has this such open leadership and just open enthusiasm and joy and love. Like, the moment, this isn't really a spoiler. Well, no, it's in the trailer. Sorry. It's in the trailer. This isn't spoiled. There's a moment where Pike goes over, he's like, I love my job, and he just has joy at everything, but he's also willing to encourage the people around him, yet he'll also be stern at the right moment too. He's just such a well-written captain, and Anson Mount plays him to perfection. I honestly, honest to God, I think of all the Star Trek captains, and I like different, Sisko I think is probably the most complex and most intriguing captain to watch, but in terms of just the way they're written and who I like to look up to as a captain, easily Pike. By far Pike. Stuff we play, hard to you. You said super hyped for Strange New Worlds. Hope all is good tonight. Well, thank you so much, Stuff we play. Mwah. I hope you enjoy watching it as well, like I did. David Deister. Ooh, okay. I know, and Sham, I want to answer your question too, but I actually do want to talk about this because I will be, I'll be mentioning this in I'm currently actually editing my review of Star Trek Picard Season 2, and I talk about this a little bit in there. David Deister says, what do you think of the race swap of Robert April? I find it atrocious. What are your opinions? So, David Deister, you and I are going to disagree on this one. So, for those of you who don't know, and this is going to be a mini rant on my part, and this is not calling out anyone specifically, but this is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, so I'm going to try and be very clear about it, because I want to be clear about this. For those of you who don't know, there is a character named Robert April, who was, how best to describe him? He was a character that first officially appeared on screen in Star Trek the Animated Series, and he was technically the captain before Captain Pike. He appeared in an episode of the Animated Series as a cartoon character, and in that cartoon, he was retiring, and it was an episode with timey-wimey stuff. There was time travel stuff going on with the episode and everything. It was just, he was the captain before Kirk, there was Kirk, Pike, and then April was before both of them. Now, originally, April was also like the original concept for the first captain when they were originally pitching the show way back in 1960s. They originally pitched April, and then it was changed to Pike, and then when that pilot got shot down, they changed it to Kirk, and then the show kept going from there. So in that cartoon show in Star Trek The Animated Series, the character was white. Now, you could also mention other things with this character, considering that he looked exactly like Captain Kirk, because at the time, the company that was making Star Trek The Animated Series would often reuse animations to save on budget. So the character of Robert April looked like Captain Kirk. They looked exactly the same. Now, there has been a minor controversy about the fact that in Star Trek Strange New Worlds, the character of Robert April comes up again because they're sort of pulling from the history of Star Trek. And they cast him, I forget the name of the actor off the top of my head, but he's the actor who plays Uncle Phil in the recent dramatic version of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air called Bel-Air. Great actor, but he's black, right? So there has been a large amount of people upset at this change in the character from a white guy to a black guy. I take very much issue with people being upset at that. And I want to tell you why, and I want to be very, very clear. One of the first reasons that I'm upset is because it's being very selective about what they are being upset about. And again, I'm not placing this on every single person. I'm not saying every single person is like this, but it's being very selective about what they're being upset about. Because as I think someone, Cyberquaker, points out right now, and Cyberquaker actually drew this attention to me, is that if you're upset about the show ruining canon, number one, Star Trek The Animated Series has always had a dubious connection to canon. I mean, for example, it has pink tribbles, which was always weird, and there's strange stuff. There's a lot of picking and choosing when it comes to canon in Star Trek The Animated Series. But some people have argued that it's canon. Even some of the writers of the shows currently have said that it's canon. And so this change to from a white guy to a black guy seems to make that it seems not canon. Here's my thing with that. If that's the thing that you're getting upset about, why don't you get upset about the fact that in that same episode where they had Robert April, they say that the retirement age for captains is that is 75 years old. At 75 years old, you have to retire from Starfleet. But that is contradicted in Star Trek The Next Generation, where we see in the first season of that show, there's an admiral that is 85 years old. No issue there. Also, there are people that get upset about, or there were people that got upset about the fact that and a lot of these same people, not saying everyone, I'm not trying to paint with a broad brush, but a lot of these same people who are upset about ruining the canonicity of Star Trek The Animated Series got upset at Star Trek Discovery in 2017 for a scene where it featured a holodeck, despite the fact that the holodeck appeared in Star Trek The Animated Series. So, around the same time. So they were saying oh, you can't have a holodeck in Star Trek Discovery, but ignoring that the animated series had one as well. So what that tells me is a lot of this is picking and choosing what they get upset about with the show. So if you're picking and choosing what you're getting upset about, and the thing that you're getting upset about is that a character is black, I have larger concerns with what you're saying. Continuing on that thread, and I know this is a little bit of a rant, but I do actually want to be very, very clear. And thank you. Hi, Jay Bird. It's good to see you. I want to be just very, very clear about this, because this is something that I want to be very clear about. The reason that a lot of these people are upset at this change, besides the casual racism, and we'll talk about that in a second, is that they have a predetermined desire to, again, not everybody, but a predetermined desire to dislike the show because they dislike a lot of the modern era of Star Trek. So they have that emotional response that they already have prepped, and so they look for ways to justify their upsetness, whether it be it doesn't fit canon, or they're doing this sort of thing, or they're pushing out people of color, or white people. And there are people that are saying, well, if they took a black character and replaced it with a white guy, you would be more upset. And yes, I would be, because there's a difference between allowing for a person from a marginalized group who does not often get as much representation in media today to be allowed to play these characters that, by the way, were dubiously canon, whether they were or not in the animated series, than they are today. And there's also this desire to need to also take Star Trek as this. And so there's that casual racism going on. But then there's also this weird desire that has this conspiracy theory mindset within Star Trek and fictional stuff that needs to take Star Trek as some sort of historical document that whatever specific Star Trek that someone likes, whether it be all of the Star Trek up to Star Trek Enterprise or whatever, as like some sort of historical document, and that like Discovery, Strange New Worlds, whatever, are seen as apocryphal because they don't fit in with all the little tidbits of lore of all the Star Trek prior. Without realizing that, one, Star Trek prior has always been inconsistent with itself. I mean, like, for example, Star Trek, the original series, said that Kirk and every crew would go back in time to research history all the dang time, whereas in Next Generation, in the episode of Matter of Time, there was a historian from the future who came back in time to study the Enterprise, and Picard was like, the Federation would never do that. So you have, like, inconsistencies like that all the freaking time in Star Trek. So they don't recognize that, and don't recognize that, like, it's a show made over 50 years, and so, of course, there's going to be inconsistencies between different shows because that's just going to happen, and because storytelling changes and evolves over time. And that's not to say that you have to like it, but there's this need to see, like, this fictional universe as real, and anything that goes against it is like a conspiracy theory to destroy this thing that they love, that they see as real. And it's like extrapolating, because conspiracy theories are all about taking an emotional belief and and ignoring facts in the real world to create a false version of reality. But when you do it in a fandom, it is taking that idea into the abstract. So it has to take a fictional universe as fact, then, like, create an emotional reality around that abstract fictional universe and treat it as its own reality, and then see other versions of this fictional universe as its own reality separate to yours that contradicts yours in order to justify your emotional hatred of something that already exists. So it's like taking the same sort of idea that we see with conspiracy theories in the real world today and putting it into a fictional universe which abstracts it out, which justifying someone's already emotional hatred of a show before it's even out. Again, that is painting with a broad brush, like an incredibly broad brush, because I know there are people that are upset for different reasons, but that's the reason that I'm particularly upset with this Robert April thing. It is using conspiracy theory mindsets, using conspiracy theory mindsets to justify it's conspiracy theory mindsets using casual racism to justify their predetermined hatred of a show before it was even out yet. And ignoring the need for people of color to be able to see themselves represented in shows, and other marginalized groups to be able to see themselves represented in shows. So, thank you for allowing me that rant. I just wanted to talk about that because that whole thing about Robert April upset me. That's not to say every single person is thinking that way, but that was just generally my feeling on it. I do want to answer some of these other questions because sorry I got off on that rant, but David, you asked a question. And again, David, I'm not hating on you, but that's just how I see it with that particular issue. And I am actually really glad that, number one, this actor, who is a fantastic actor, gets to be in the show, and also that there's more room for more representation and diversity in Star Trek, which is what Star Trek is always about. And whether that ruins the canonicity of a cartoon character from the 1970s, well, as much as I love the animated series, and don't get me wrong, I legitimately love the animated series, I really, really do. I have a pink tribble literally right here on my desk to honor that. I don't care whether they changed his race, and if it ruins the canonicity of the animated series, because I like both shows, and I can enjoy both shows regardless. So, anyways, and yes, Strange New Pod, Amber Loris is what I said. Just some quick ones. Zoe, thank you so much for your super chat. I appreciate you. Mwah. I love you as well. You are lovely. Thank you for. I'm glad I kept you sane over quarantine, and y'all kept me sane over quarantine. And Super Desi, thank you for you. I appreciate you as well. I will have a good beer on Saturday because I'm gonna need it. This week has been a long week in terms of just work that I've had to do. Pike should have kept the beard, right, Sarah? Heart to you. Yes, Pike should have 100% kept the beard. Freaking loved his beard, and that was the one thing that upset me about the pilot. Is Pike ruined the beard. Deeply upsetting. Joshua M. said, heart to you. So enjoyed lots of Picard season 2, but the time travel plot didn't make sense to me. I thought they'd make it clear in finale, but they didn't. Yeah, I mean, I won't go into too much detail on this because literally, right now I'm editing my review of Star Trek Picard season 2. I am literally, might as well see if I can show this to you. Like literally up on my screen right now while I'm editing this. Let's see if I can do this. Can I show you this? Well, yeah. So this is currently what I'm editing right now. You can see my this is my Star Trek Picard edit right here, where I'm editing my review of the show. Let's see. And you have sorry, this is just me having some fun with stuff like some sexy starships. Like, look at those sexy starships. So that's what I'm editing right now. So I'll have more. So long and short of it is, I'll have more to say about the show there. But I do agree. I do think while I do find stuff that I've loved about Star Trek Picard Season 2. And I do think there are things to love. I loved its rumination on trauma. The actual Borg storyline with Jurati, I actually really liked too. I thought it was a great way to turn the Borg into something new after they've been so overused in Star Trek Voyager. The Jurati storyline has turned them into something new that can make the Borg still be part of the Star Trek universe, but have new stories to tell with them. But that being said, I do think that this season of Picard is my least favorite season of modern Trek since Star Trek Discovery premiered in 2017. I do think it is one of the most messily written seasons of this modern era. But like I said, my reviews are never to be thing good or thing bad. I never say, this is a good show, this is a bad show. I just talk about it holistically and say, these are things that I think worked, these things that didn't. And I do think that this is my least favorite, and I don't love it, but there are still things to love about this season. So, it is, and Stuff We Play, it is my least favorite season overall. Chloe, I'm sorry I haven't gotten a chance to watch Star Trek the Animated Series, or not Star Trek, I'm sorry, Conan the Barbarian. I keep meaning to, I've just been busy, but I have your Blu-ray, and I will watch it. I almost watched it this weekend, but then I got busy. So I do apologize, Chloe. I promise you I will watch it, and I'll let you know when I do. Sorry, just catching up to make sure I didn't miss anything. Can't super chat. Who said that? And I do want to answer that question earlier. Can't super chat, but I just want to say I finished Deep Space Nine Season 1. The finale was an evolution versus creation episode. It's like the Star Trek Gone Woke people I never watched this. Yeah, I know. The very last episode of Season 1 is quite literally a creationism versus like evolution and in school debate episode. The episode's not perfect to my mind. I think there's some weird ways that it presents the argument, but it does feel very prescient, right? With Deep Space Nine, with the way that a lot of education being presented to kids has been vilified in the United States today. Like, there's so many attacks on children's education, whether it be talking about kids about LGBTQ issues, racial issues, things like that. And so that episode is prescient in that way, but obviously the episode was more trying to address the evolution versus creationism debate. That still is ongoing today, but is less prominent than it was back when Deep Space Nine was around. So it's just interesting how those sort of concepts get constantly brought back up and regurgitated. So... And Rocket Dave, Season 4 of Discovery is my least favorite season of modern Trek. That's totally cool. See, this is what I always appreciate about these discussions, right? I have always been entirely clear, and I talk about this in my Star Trek Picard review. I'm going to say this, is that I've always appreciated people having differing opinions from me about Star Trek. There are many people that I know that I respect deeply who have hated every episode and every season of modern Star Trek. Like, for example, Kyle from the Trekspertise YouTube channel really dislikes this modern era of Star Trek. Yet I respect his opinion because he has reasons. He articulates them well, and he's not vitriolic, nor does he hate on people who do like modern Star Trek. And I always just love people having that conversation. If you dislike a season of Star Trek, like one of my best friends, here on YouTube, Steve Shives, we're going to have a conversation tomorrow. He hates Lower Decks, or hates maybe the wrong word. He doesn't really like the show. He really dislikes it. It's not as the show for him. I love Lower Decks. Might be my favorite, it's definitely my favorite modern Star Trek show. Might be one of my favorite Star Trek shows ever. We'll have to see when the show's all said and done, hopefully after 7 years in a movie. Then I'll be able to say for sure. But after the 2 seasons, it's up there as one of my favorite Star Trek shows of all time. But he dislikes it, but that's okay. We can respect each other's opinions. The only thing that I take issue with when people discuss modern Star Trek is... One, there's the people who are just like it's SAW, wokeness, forced diversity. Those people, who cares? I don't care about them. They're frustrating and annoying and silly and dumb, and those criticisms are not really criticisms. They're just, how did I put it in my review? I wrote it down in my review. They're just people... using these lazy criticisms that they can copy-paste onto any franchise that they want to at any point today to rile up anger in their audiences in order to grift them for money so that they can play off the anxiety that people are feeling that they are no longer centralized in their stories anymore and allowing more people with more voices and perspectives to enter the franchises that they love, that they no longer get to have sole ownership of. Those people... I hate them. Like, I hate them is the wrong word. I don't care about them, really. I don't have any strong feelings other than being vastly annoyed and frustrated whenever they get to dictate a conversation. But for the people who do have legitimate criticisms, and I think there are many. I think there are many people who do have legitimate criticisms that I would agree with. But I still take issue with how they present things because they are dismissive of people who do like modern Star Trek and say that we don't get good writing or we don't understand some things or whatever. They have this Star Trek is dead mindset to them just because Star Trek isn't the thing that they want it to be. And again, dismiss other people who do like modern Star Trek or are have like a Schadenfreude feel to it, where they have like a delight whenever something in modern Star Trek doesn't go right. Like Star Trek Picard Season 2 has not been a critical darling. It hasn't been. And so there's a certain Schadenfreude enjoyment of like, oh, look at it all being like failing. Look at all these terrible writers. And I dislike that sort of Schadenfreude. And those are people that I agree with criticisms of. Not the wokeness, SJW, whatever, ranty overlord, doomcock, nerdrotic people. I'm talking about like people like Red Letter Media. Who Red Letter Media, I have issues with Red Letter Media overall, but overall I tend to find some of their criticisms to be good, and I'm not hating on them. I found that their opinions on some stuff can be decent. But I dislike this, like, oh, this franchise is dead. It's literally just, it's lost the magic, and I've seen they literally go like, I've seen the body of the show, and it's like Star Trek's just being dead and shot. Even if I agree with their criticisms of Picard, and I've actually watched all of Red Letter Media's reviews of Picard, I've actually generally agreed with every single one of them, for the most part with their criticisms, even if I've found things to enjoy that they didn't. But I just dislike the tone. And that's what bothers me, because they're dismissing what people like, and there's this Schadenfreude delight. That maybe not just them, but this like, oh, woe is me tone. That's what bothers me. And so I just always want to be clear. If you dislike Star Trek, modern Star Trek, I appreciate you and love you and want you to be here. And I appreciate your voice and your disagreements with me. I just, as long as you're not dismissing my own love of these things. That's all I ask. That's sort of my, that's my take on it. So, and thank you everybody. And sorry, I'm checking out this. If I get each Star Trek show a chance, and I like how I keep it in mind, I do not care what characters are, it's how good the show is. Yeah, for sure, Carla. For sure. Terminal. I will say, The Expanse is great. I agree with you. The Expanse has both quality and diversity. Like, freaking diversity out the butt in terms of sexuality. Like, they have a polyamorous, like, fam on there, and I love the polyamorous representation in that show. Like, so good. Like, The Expanse, probably, it's over now, sadly, but if it was still on, I would say, as much as I love Star Trek, The Expanse is probably my favorite science fiction show on today. Now that it's over, For All Mankind might be my favorite science fiction show on right now, but, well, that's my sort of thing. So, but I did want to answer some other questions. I did also see some other super chats really quickly. So 1 second, just want a quick, Mac the Knife, heart to you. Thank you so much for your super chat. You are lovely and I appreciate you. Mwah, thank you, my friend. And then someone asked me, I forget who it was, and apologies because I wanted to get it, but someone asked me what my favorite movies were, for this, or not favorite movies, favorite TV shows that have been airing, and I can never remember off the top of my head, but what I can do is I keep a list of all the things that I watch, because Jessie's brain needs that. Welcome to Neurodiverse World, where I just need to have a list of every single thing that I've ever watched, just or else I get stressed out about it. I'm watching Twin Peaks right now, by the way, for the first time. I've never seen Twin Peaks. But what's the TV shows that I have watched this year? Where's my that I think are some of the best? Owl House is great. Better Call Saul is really good. Atlanta. Oh, Atlanta. Mwah, freaking amazing. I am loving Atlanta. If you're not watching Atlanta right now, like, legitimately go watch Atlanta. Some of the best episodes. This season has just had some of the best episodes. That show overall is just fantastic. There was one episode, and you know, I'd rather like a black person talk about the show rather than me, because I am not the person that should be best articulating that. But there was one episode that I thought was so good that was just about white discomfiture with the idea of reparations. and like having to like pay to the harm that had been caused the black community. And so it like literalized it in a very kind of over the top magical realism way, but it was a fantastic episode. And it was just such a good targeted view of like what really is at the heart of white people being discomforted by the concept of reparations, when reparations is, I think, one of the numerous avenues that we need to take in this country to try and make up for some of the original sin. You can never really make up for it, but some of the original sin of this country, which was slavery. But yeah, it's a great show that you should 100% watch. Like, that is such a great show. Barry's been great. What else have I seen this season? Oh, this is, okay. Easy answer. Best show I've watched this year. Hands down, Severance. Best show. I love Severance. If you're not watching Severance, I don't want to spoil it for you, but you all need to go watch Severance. I lied earlier when I said that For All Mankind is my favorite science fiction show on right now. Severance is my favorite science fiction show on right now. Again, big Star Trek fan. I love my Star Trek. Severance is the best science fiction show on right now. Go watch Severance. I cannot tell you more. It is so good. Mac the Knife, Part 2, you said, I'm so glad you're watching Twin Peaks. Yeah, I'm only in like the first 2 episodes of season 1, but it is great. Agent Cooper, as much as I like, he's a cop character, and cop characters are complicated. But considering he's a cop character, Agent Cooper is one of the most adorable people I've ever seen in my life. He's just like, his little waves and his like little thumbs up at certain points of the show is just adorable. And then the way that the Twin Peaks is evoked and the way that world is sort of like just slightly off kilter in a very David Lynchian way that like gets at the emotional feeling of everything, I think is great. Like, legitimately, I really, really love Twin Peaks. I think it's a great show. Have you seen Foundation? Yes, I have. I liked Foundation. I didn't love it as much as I wanted to. I thought it was good, but not fantastic. Lee Pace's storyline is like the Emperor that was like there's a young version, a middle-aged version, and an older version of the Emperor that just sort of like keeps this like false lineage going on. I thought it was such a great like metaphorical representation of this need to like control lineage and the unevolvingness of certain like ideas and political structures, to be unwilling to bend to change and always centralizing power in a specific type of person. I thought that was a great way to like represent that, and Lee Pace's storyline in that was great. The rest of the storyline, though, for the show, I thought got a little bit kind of stuck in the rut and not moving forward fast enough. So all the stuff with Lee Pace in Foundation, fantastic. Everything else, I thought it was okay. I have seen Squid Game Black Cover. I love Squid Game. I think I talked about it in my Matrix video. So if you want to hear my thoughts on that, Squid Game, fantastic. Another one of the best shows that's been out in the past few years, though often widely misinterpreted. But still great. The Weilmeister, Heart to you. Thank you so much. Said, I find it interesting that a new Star Trek show premieres the day after Star Wars to you. Technically, it premiered on Star Wars Day. If you want to get technical, because the episodes went up at like 11:30 last night. So very technically, they went to Star Trek Picard Season 2 finale and Strange New Worlds both premiered on Star Wars Day, which is a fun little screw you to Star Wars. I think it's just funny. I don't think there was any intentionality behind that, but from anyone, I think it was just like the way CBS, Paramount, whatever, planned out their schedules, and it just happened to land that way. But yeah, no, I think it's funny, but I don't think there was any sort of like conceited effort for it. aka KGB. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Mwah. We can talk about the earliest days of Trek fandom affecting current Trek and its fandom. Yeah, I would love to talk about that, aka. I mean, knowing a lot of the history of Trek fandom, I would love to talk more about that, what your connection is. But yes, 100%, I would love that. Let's see. Zoe, you mentioned you like Barry. Hard to you. I've seen the headcanon about that Barry is autistic. What do you think about that? I could see that. It's not a reading that I necessarily instantaneously thought of for the character, but I could see it. He definitely, like, does seem better able to, and this is something that I experienced because I took acting classes as well, and that show is about him being an actor. He does seem to be better able to understand emotions, articulate emotions through acting, which is something I've seen a lot of autistic people do in my personal life, like being able to in a situation where like emotions are clearly defined and able to be like examined in a very intense way. That can really, really help. And so that I could see that. But he definitely has PTSD. And this season of Barry is dark. I don't want to spoil too much, but the second episode of the current season, season 3, kind of hit me really, really hard. Because it is about emotionally abusive men and, again, without getting too specific, it's about emotionally abusive men and how their emotional needs supersede their caring for other people's, emotions and bodily autonomy. Their like need to be loved sometimes, lashes out in abuse. It was a very difficult episode to watch. For me personally, but it's very true. It's very well done. So I think it's a very, very well done season so far. Hard to watch though. Definitely hard to watch. There is a Star Trek Day. I forget what the Star Trek Day, the actual date is, Carla, but there is a Star Trek Day and a First Contact Day. So there's actually 2 holidays we get. We get First Contact Day and Star Trek Day. I forget what the dates for both of those are, but they do exist. Let's see. Oh, the Wildmeister Heart to you. Thank you so much. I don't think I'm up to that point yet, but I hear Discovery began to copy Andromeda about season 2 or 3, and this strikes me as a human Andromeda fan. Are you, and is that right about Discovery? I'm assuming you meant to say. I've actually never seen Andromeda, and I'm not against Andromeda. I know it's a Gene Roddenberry show, so I know the concept of Andromeda. So I'm not a big Andromeda fan because I haven't seen it, and I'll be honest with you, it's gonna be hard for me to watch it because it has Kevin Sorbo in it, and I don't particularly like Kevin Sorbo as just an actor in terms of what he's said and done, and some of his views. I find to be particularly kind of vile, so it would be hard for me to watch the show that features him as the star. But that being said, that's by no means a judgment on anyone else who likes Andromeda. If you like Andromeda, that's totally cool. I will say, I don't think like Star Trek Discovery copied Andromeda. I mean, maybe it was inspired from it or just had a similar concept. But yeah, the concept is very similar to Andromeda. Season 3 of Discovery, without spoiling too much, does cover ground similar to Andromeda. It goes its own way and does its own thing, but it certainly has a similarity in terms of plot. Copying, no. Again, I think when art tends to be similar to each other, people tend to cry copying, when really it's just all art kind of has echoes of each other. Sometimes they're inspired by them directly. Sometimes people just come up with similar ideas based off the same like pieces that they're playing around with. So people are just always ready to yell plagiarism and copying, when I just think like art always is inspired by other art, and art sometimes can be created coming from the same ideas as someone else. So yeah. Yeah, exactly, Rocky Dave. It's why I can't, same goes for Dean Cain. It's why I can't watch Hercules either. And actually, Anya, apologies if I said your name wrong, you also sort of articulated that too. It's like, yeah, I can't watch Hercules at all because of that. And I want to watch Xena really badly. But my completionist mind makes me, well, if I'm going to watch Xena, I need to watch Hercules. And I don't want to watch Hercules. So I need to watch Xena at some point in my life. But I just need to power through Hercules at some point to get over Kevin Sorbo. Though I know you don't need to watch Hercules to get into Xena. I'm well aware. But I'm a completionist person. Like, again, welcome to Jessie's neurodivergent brain. I need to check off all the boxes or else I'm going to, or else I get stressed about it. So, what did Dean Cain do? Dean Cain's just a like right-wing jerk. Is really the long and short of it, Miss Wicked Wolf. Like Dean Cain, he's like Kevin Sorbo. He's just said some pretty, terrible things and idiotic things on Twitter and things like that. In fact, I think I did a video that tangentially touched upon Dean Cain. There was a Superman video I did about late last year, so it would have been like maybe November, December, back when they announced that Superman was going to be bisexual. Dean Cain wrote an article about it, and I talked about that in my video on that. So if you're curious about some of my thoughts on Dean Cain, you can check out that video. So yeah, I think that's sort of the long and short of that. Let's see. Xena is yes. Shh. No spoilers yet. Shh. Don't spoil Battlestar Galactica for people. Shh. Even though that's an earlier episode, but Let's see. Carlisle the Cinephile. Heart to you. If you had to choose between two science fiction characters with sad beard dad energy, would you choose Disney Plus Obi-Wan or Mountain Man Pike? Oh boy. Hard choice. Hard choice. Oh, you're killing me. Pike. It would have to be Pike. As much as I love my Ian McGregor Obi-Wan, and I'm so excited for that show too. Like, I'm very pumped for Ian McGregor Obi-Wan. The trailer yesterday, that was very, very cool. Pike. Pike's my man. Pike's my man. I love my Pike. He's riding a horse. He's got the beard. He's going to give a speech about how important it is that we all care about each other. I'm here for that. Obi-Wan just seemed a little bit disillusioned. And I like my men to be way too optimistic. Bearded and optimistic. Those are the ways that I like my men. Overly optimistic and bearded. So that's probably my choice between the two of them. So let's see. Exactly. Daddy Pike forever, Corey Higgins. Daddy Pike forever. Let's see. Heart to you, the Wowmeister. I was about to ask if you were an actor, as I really enjoyed your sexualization of transgender video. You played so many things, it seemed theatrical. Also, the Will in my name is Will, as in Will Wheaton. Oh, amazing, Will. That's awesome. Will Wheaton's wonderful. He's a wonderful human being. Without saying too much, just some of the things he talked about on the Ready Room today. If you watch the Ready Room, the after show, it was really beautiful. I think Will Wheaton seems like a really beautiful soul. Never met him, but he seems like an absolutely beautiful soul of a human being from everything that I've seen and heard about him. So that's wonderful. You asked, sorry, what did you exactly? Yes, you said, am I an actor? No, but I have had acting training. So I've done acting. I've acted in a few plays and things. I've done, and I do from time to time do improv. So I do have some acting ability, hopefully. I do have some training in it, and I think doing YouTube videos, like for videos like that to like show emotions and things, it helps me be able to like display them. When I do videos, and I think like actually Philosophy Tube, Abigail Thorne talked about this in one of her videos years ago. I think it was like a 3 or 4 year old video at this point. But it's something that you when you do video essays like that are coming from a personal place and then you act them out. On like a screen, like you write them and then you go on screen and you say the script that you wrote, like I did with the sexualization of transgender bodies. What you realize is like the emotion that I put into those videos and the emotion that you're seeing me go through is real. Like I'm not faking the emotion that I'm feeling. It's coming from a true place of my own life and things that I'm going through. But there's also an awareness, and I think it's just obvious by the fact that I have a camera that I'm sitting there reading a script that I wrote, that some of that emotion is presentational. I'm presenting to you in that moment the emotions that I'm feeling. And so there's a theatricality to that. But because it's an emotions that's talking about like my real life and the places that I come from, and what I'm feeling, I always try to make sure that the emotions that I'm displaying in those moments is real. That I'm never lying or faking the emotion. But it is presentational. So there is a sort of awareness of that there is that sort of theatricality line when making videos like that. But I always try to make it come from an honest place, and the emotion come from an honest place when I do discuss stuff like that. So it's a complicated thing. So yeah, I would say, I think Abigail Thorne did a great video on that like a while ago. So. And yeah, Cindy, he says I'm muted, but I think according to everything, my sound's still going. So I think you might be muted yourself, or somebody might be buffering or something like that. The Dawn of Van Life says, I was worried about the Obi-Wan. I'm worried about the Obi-Wan series, maybe because I've loved Star Wars longer than Trek. LOL. So I have more nostalgia, that kind of vague space for this period they are attacking. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the Obi-Wan show because Ian McGregor's great. I've been kind of more down on Star Wars than Star Trek. I mean, I'm up on Star Trek generally. I have not liked Picard season 1, or season 2, I should say. But all the other Star Treks, I'm generally like good to positive, like great on. Like Prodigy and Lower Decks, I'm like great on. Discovery, I'm good on. Star Trek Picard, I'm slightly negative on, sadly. But generally, I'm up on Star Trek. Star Wars, less so. I don't hate Mandalorian. Like Mandalorian's fine. There's some great moments in The Mandalorian. I just find some of it to be a little bit cynical and not liking some of the nostalgia like things that they hook onto, and some of the like weird ways that they displayed. The Book of Boba Fett was also just kind of like wonkily written and like easily patched up. So yeah, I don't dislike where Star Wars is at, but I'm less like enthusiastic about Star Wars right now. But the Obi-Wan show I'm excited about because we're getting live action Inquisitors. I'm here for the Inquisitors. Like very down for the Inquisitors and a bunch of other things. So there's definitely Cindy, are you all right? Oh, okay, there you go. Cool, you got it. But yeah. So that's my thought on Star Wars. I'm not down on Star Wars, but I'm not really up on it either right now. Ooh, and also I need to, Carla, listen to file. Let me answer your question in just a second, but I just, Marg just asked a good question. Favorite Strange New World character so far? So I'm going to be honest with all of you, just being open, this is not going to be spoilery. I have seen ahead. I got some screeners for a few of the Star Trek Strange New Worlds episodes that are beyond the premiere, so I've seen a few episodes ahead. And the easy answer is to say Pike. I do like Pike. But what I will say is this. Keep your eye on Uhura and Nurse Chapel. Of all the characters that Uhura, fantastic. Celia, I think your name is Celia Gooding. They are. The actor who plays Uhura is non-binary. They are actually fantastic and do such a good job as Uhura in some of the episodes coming up. Like, Uhura is amazing. But I think personally, I don't know for sure yet because it's still early days, there's a good possibility that Nurse Chapel might end up being one of my favorite characters on the show. She is a weirdo dork. You get a little hint of it in the first episode of this season. She's a little weirdo dork. And I kind of love her. I love how a bit of a weirdo dork that she is. So keep your eye on Nurse Chapel. Which is not a sentence that I ever would have thought in my life. Like ever. Like, I never would have thought I said, oh, Nurse Chapel might be my favorite character in Star Trek. Like, she actually has a personality. She's great. So keep an eye on both of those characters, especially next episode. Next episode is Uhura's episode. So that's all I'll say. That's all I can say without getting it. Probably saying it's Uhura's episode is probably saying too much, and I could get the CBS people after me now. But yeah, I would say keep an eye on both of those two. Carla, the cinephile, have you ever heard the Hunchback of Notre Dame musical? It used the music of the Disney movie, but has a tone more in line with the original book. It's super underrated. My girlfriend and I are currently performing. Oh, that's amazing, Carlisle, the cinephile. That sounds wonderful. Oh, I hope your show is going great. No, I haven't. Well, no. I think I might have, but I don't remember it, because if I did, there was a children's theater in Buffalo, New York that I think it was called Shays Performing Arts Center, I believe is what it was when I was a kid. But it was like a professional children's theater, and I believe they showed it once, and I think I saw it then, but I don't really remember it. Because I saw a few things there, like I saw the Secret Garden they did there once. They did the Chronicles of Narnia there once. They did like a few good shows there. I think they did the Lion King there once too. And I think I saw Hunchback there as well, but I for the life of me could not remember. I have like vague images of it in my brain, so sadly not. But yeah, I heard it's good. Sounds like fun. I'm going to have to head out soon because I'm needing to grab some food before I do the Strange New World pod. But don't worry, I will still be streaming later on in the Strange New World pod. We'll talk about it. I'll remind everyone of that in a second. But I might need to wrap up soon. But I want to quick answer a few more things, including these super chats real quick. Chloe, what was up with Margaret Atwood's cryptophobic tweets a few months back? I don't remember specifically what they were. I'm trying to remember. It was like something about like, why don't we use the word woman? And it's strange because Margaret Atwood's weird. Because you would think that, like, after having written something like The Handmaid's Tale, that she would be, like, there was a possibility she could be super turfy, though The Handmaid's Tale is actually, I think, the book. The show is a little bit turfy. This book is, I think, a little bit better about that. But you could see her going that way. But then she signed the letter after Rowling came out as a turf. Margaret Atwood signed a letter supporting non-binary and trans people, which Rowling did not, and Stephen King and a few others, and Neil Gaiman also signed as well. But then she, like, put up a tweet that was like, I forget the exact context. It was like, why don't we say the word women? It was like something along those things, like similar to what like Rowling had said like years ago when she started her turfiness. When she's like, well, why don't we just say woman instead of people who menstruate? When it's like people who menstruate is just a more specific term, and also the article that you were complaining about rolling also said the word woman within it, but whatever. And also trans men and non-binary people menstruate too. But anyways, regardless. And also even trans women, arguably, we don't necessarily have a menstruation cycle, but there are hormonal cycles based on hormones and things that you could argue about as too. That sort of fits in within that, even though it's not necessarily a menstruation cycle. But anyways, so she tweeted out something like that, but I think it was like, and it could have been taken turfully, but I remember the article being like a little less so. It was still not a great article that she tweeted out, but it was less turfy than it could have been. And then she's been supportive of trans people. So like Margaret Atwood is, I'm not up to date exactly on her views, but she's a bit, I feel like she's good. I feel like we're cool with Margaret Atwood. We're like a little bit like, oh, okay. You're like the aunt. You're like aunt. Aunt probably is the wrong word to use given the Handmaid's context, but like I'm talking more about in just like a familiar context. Like you're like the aunt who like says some weird things from time to time, but you're like she's smart as a tack. But you say every so often you're like, I think like that's the vibe I get from Atwood. Like I like hanging out with her. I like talking to her. I think she's the smartest aunt that I have. But then you every once in a while you're like, what did she say? She probably it's fine. Is probably what I would say. And then Will Meister, you said, do you watch The Orville? I've been interested in this kind of spoof's take on their gay transgender characters. In my opinion, the gay transgender episode is probably among the best. Ooh, okay. I do like The Orville. I'm gonna say that right up front. I do like The Orville. I appreciate it as a show, and I like it. I don't love it yet, but I enjoy it, and I'm excited for season 3, and I'll probably be covering it when it comes out, depending on how I'm feeling. Because I'll be recovering from surgery, I believe, when it comes out, so we'll see how I'm feeling in terms of whether I'm able to cover it, but I am looking forward to season 3 of The Orville. That being said, I really dislike the way it represents its trans characters, because especially in the first episode that it did it, the two reasons why I'm irked. It's not the worst. Like it's not terrible, but I am irked by Orville's representation of trans and non-binary characters for two reasons. One, oh, thank you, Amir. I appreciate that. I've written more on this extensively, and I'll probably talk about it more at some point. But one, the show tends to mix up very confusedly women's rights issues, trans issues, and intersex issues, and not in a way that is like doing it in like a sci-fi metaphor that can still kind of fit all these things. It kind of conflates those three things without really understanding like the difference, and it doesn't really articulate them well. Like the episode about a girl, I think really just confuses intersex issues, trans issues, and women's issues in a way that doesn't really articulate them super well. And so that's my one issue with it. And then the other issue that I have with The Orville is it feels a bit outdated, not in terms of its style, in terms of like, it's basically just copying The Next Generation. But my issue with The Orville, and the best way I can describe it, is it has the same problem that The Next Generation did, but it's less forgivable than The Next Generation, because The Next Generation is like 20 years old at this point, and I can understand where it's coming from. But when you look at Discovery, or Picard, or even Strange New Worlds, what's great about those shows is they are incredibly diverse, and the diverse characters get to be centralized in their stories. Yes, like, Picard probably the least so, because that show is so centralized on Picard, but it definitely Strange New Worlds, from what I've seen so far, and most certainly Discovery, and Strange New Worlds and Prodigy also, to a degree, is that, like, characters from different backgrounds and perspectives get to have their own perspectives and centralized in the narrative, and the story allows those people's diversity to be center in the story. Like Mariner being a black woman, Michael Burnham being a black woman, transgender characters in Discovery getting to exist as being trans. Whereas in The Orville, and this is the same problem The Next Generation has, it views those issues, like sexuality or gender, transgender issues, or even women's issues at times, as a other. It otherizes those issues. So when it does an episode about gay people, it's gay aliens, and it's like a gay metaphorical alien. Like Bortus is supposed to be representative of like how we stigmatize sexuality. And that's fine. You can do that, but there's no gay characters on the show. Like literal gay characters that get to exist in and of themselves. So what the show presents to me is that it views this thing from this, like, Seth MacFarlane, very straight white cisgender dude viewpoint. And someone who's trying to be very kind and talk about those issues, understandably so, like The Next Generation did, but it otherized them. And so that's my issue with the Orville, is that it is still only centralizing one viewpoint, the cis white male gaze. That's not hating on the cis white straight male gaze, but it doesn't allow other people to really have a centralized role in how they get to express and see themselves in the show. And when I compare that to Discovery, love or hate Discovery's writing, one of the beautiful things about that show is that so many characters get to be centralized in their own stories and get to represent themselves and their communities as a whole. The queer found family, transgender issues, being able to mention transition. Like Gray, the trans character on Discovery, casually mentions his transition at one point. And it's not made a big deal of. It's just like, oh yeah, this is like my transition, is essentially the scene. He's talking about some weird sci-fi nonsense, and he's like, oh yeah, this reminds me of my transition. And it's just an offhanded reference, but it's like, that's what a trans person would do. You know, I'd be like, oh yeah, this reminds me of that. It's not like a centralized thing. It's not overhyped up. It's just a thing that character mentioned because it's part of their perspective. Whereas if you put that in the Orville, there's no trans character, number one, and it feels like if there was, they would be like, we're going to make a whole episode about their transition. It'll be an alien metaphor, but we won't literalize it. And so it otherizes it. And so that's really my issue with the Orville. Not that it's a bad show. Not that doesn't have great episodes within it, but that I think it just has a centralized viewpoint that I think is outdated in that type of fiction nowadays. When we look at something like Discovery, when we look at something like The Expanse, right? Those shows get to centralize those perspectives. So, yeah. So that's my thoughts on that. I'm going to wrap up with really quickly just with these last super chats, and then I got to run because I got to eat before I do the other podcast. But if you want to catch me more talking about Strange New Worlds, I'm going to be on a podcast, Strange New Pod, in about like 30 minutes or so. An hour or so. Captain Omni said, hard to use, said, Pike continues to be my favorite captain. If you're curious, my previous captain was Mackenzie Calhoun. Yes! Hidden Frontier was the fan film. New Frontier fan. Yes, 100%. New Frontier, Captain Mackenzie Calhoun. I freaking love Mackenzie Calhoun, and I wish we got more New Frontier books. Like, New Frontier was freaking great, and I missed them so much. All here for the more Michael Jan Freeman, right? It was Michael Jan Freeman. I believe it's Michael Jan Freeman New Frontier books. You should all read them. They were great. And actually, one of the aliens from the New Frontier books is one of the lead character is Rock. The alien that Rock Talk is in Star Trek Prodigy is the alien from the New Frontier novels. So that's a cool little thing from canon there. Heart to you, Dawn of Van Life. Thank you for accidentally introducing me to Star Trek, my new favorite thing. Yay! I'm so glad, Dawn. Mwah! That makes me that type of story always makes me happy. So thank you very much, Dawn. I'm glad. I hope you're enjoying Star Trek. I've got you. I've indoctrinated you. Olivia Yeats, heart to you. You said, fun fact, Jane Goodall's desire to go to Africa began with her reading the original Edgar Rice Burroughs Tarzan novels. And the rest, they say, is history. I met her at a Burroughs convention. Oh, that's amazing. That's awesome, Olivia. Sorry, I don't have much commentary to say about that, but that's actually really cool. And then Alex Miller, who said, Heart, hey, Jessie, I saw an article where Kurtzman stated that Section 31 and the Academy series were in the works. Which are you more excited for? I'm dying for more Michelle Yeoh. I am probably more interested, to make this answer quick, I am probably more interested in Section 31. Just because Michelle Yeoh, I love Michelle Yeoh. And then number two, I think while I'm not necessarily here for like the dark underbelly of the Federation Star Trek show, I don't necessarily need that series. Tonally, I'd probably more align with what the Academy series would probably end up being. But I think the Section 31 series will add something new and be a new risky direction for Star Trek. And I'd rather the series take risks than the Academy show, which would be like, I feel like would be somewhat reiterative of other Starfleet shows. So I can see arguments for both of those. But I think I would be more interested in Section 31, especially if they set Section 31 during, like, post-Star Trek Enterprise, pre-Star Trek Discovery days. Like, with Captain Archer being around. If they set it in the area with Captain Archer being around, which there's hints of, considering that the actor who played Malcolm Reed, I'm going to say this. On one of their, the actor who played Malcolm Reed and Trip Tucker, Connor Chenier, and Dominic Keating have their own podcast. And Dominic Keating let slip on one of the podcasts that he was in talks to be in the Section 31 show. So just saying. But that he also said that the Section 31 show has now become a movie. So that's what he said on that podcast. Now, whether or not he's on the up and up, that could have changed. He's an actor and not necessarily people in the room with producers and stuff. So could have changed from what he'd heard. But he did say on the podcast. So if we get a Malcolm Reed, Michelle Yeoh, Section 31 TV show set post-Enterprise movie, I'm here for it. We'll see if that actually pans out, though. Again, a billion and one things could happen. Things always get Star Trek movies and TV shows get greenlit and canceled all the time. So unless it's being filmed, I won't believe that it's going to happen until it happens. Last one, Savory Lemon. Harchi, before you take off, I just want to say glad to catch one of your streams for one of my favorite nerds. Well, Savory Lemon, mwah, you are absolutely lovely as well. I adore you and love you as well, my friend. Mwah. Okay, everybody. I have to run because I am going, like I said, I'm going to be on the Strange New Podcast in about an hour. They have a YouTube channel called Strange New Pod, so if you type in Strange New Pod, go subscribe to them, you'll find it, and I'll be on there talking about Strange New Worlds in about 1 hour, so stick around for that. It's not going to be on this channel, it's going to be over on theirs. I'm going to go grab food. I send you all my love. Thank you for being here. Go and enjoy Strange New Worlds if you haven't watched it. Check out my review on it. Depending on just other announcements, I will definitely be also on Steve Shives' channel tomorrow. So if you're looking for more discussions of Star Trek besides what I'm going to be on Strange New Pods, I'll be on Steve Shives' channel tomorrow at 2 o'clock. So be over there for that. And then... What else? There might be a video tomorrow. It is currently copyright blocked. So depending if that copyright block lifts, there will be a video tomorrow. If the copyright block doesn't lift, it'll be coming hopefully in the next few days. And then next week, bunch of videos. I actually have several videos coming next week. I have the Star Trek Picard Season 2 review, and then possibly a video on, I believe, on J.K. Rowling Turfy stuff. The book that Turfs had a moral panic about will be coming out. I'll had a video on that soon. So look for some videos next week. There'll be a few of them. Might be a video this weekend, depending on copyrights and YouTube-y nonsense stuff. And I'm going to be on Steve Shive's channel and Strange New Pod tomorrow. So a lot of me coming up over the next few days. I'll also see you Saturday night for gaming and all that jazz. But beyond all that, mwah, I love you all. And I'll see you all in an hour if you're going to be on Strange New Pod. Mwah.